So for those of you that are joining, thank you. As I've said before, this will be our very last workshop for this summer, okay, not for the year. So this is just a pause for the time being. We will continue to do workshops throughout the year, even if it means going back to platforms that we have already touched upon, and we need refreshers, or we need to really go over them again because we've been kind of using them, but we need more practice and more work on them. We will do that, right? So on the survey that I have created for you guys today, please be very specific as to what you would like to see in the future, or what are some of the things that you would need or would like to do, right? So that's where you would put that there. It'll give me an idea of what to do moving forward. So today I will be doing iReady for those of you that are on here. And then a couple of the teachers had reached out to me to go over Pear Deck, just to kind of like do a lesson and go through a lesson with them on Pear Deck. So I will do that towards the end, so that if you're okay with Pear Deck and don't want to really hang around, you're free to go. All right. So I didn't want to hold anybody up, but I wanted to make sure that those of you that are on here actually hear the iReady presentation first. Okay. So let's begin. So again, if you have any questions along the way, please type it in the chat or unmute yourself. Also, please make sure that you are muted throughout the presentation so that we're not getting so much feedback as I'm presenting. Okay, so iReady. For the most part, we were using iReady for math in, at least at my school. I don't know about the other schools in Newark, but in Newark at South Street, we were using iReady for math. For literacy, we were using the Lexia and the Core 5. But iReady also has the ELA component, but we were not using it in my building. I'm not sure about everyone else. But in the presentation, I talked about both ELA and math, just because when I looked up the information, that's what came up. My children actually use iReady for ELA and math. So I'm kind of familiar with the program. But for those of you that are not familiar, or were just getting started with iReady and need some more, then I wanted to give you some background on what iReady does. So basically, it's an interactive online learning environment designed to assess students and provide individualized instruction based on each one's unique needs. Okay, so it really will. Pack a crunch wherever you are. Okay, so basically, it will individualize students' instruction depending on how they answer the questions. And that's what's so great about iReady, is that it really is individualized to the specific student, and not every student will be on the same exact lesson. It's a web-based program. It will work on Windows, Mac computers, and laptops. Because it's a web-based program, it is accessible anywhere and anytime you are connected to the internet. Okay, how do you access iReady? So for us, we can actually access it from the NPS website under the student portal. You would click on iReady and log in with Google, and students would do that as well. Okay, so under the student portal, that's where you find your iReady account. Okay, so as the teacher, when you sign up for your account and log in as information, this is what you would see. This is your teacher homepage. So once you sign in, you will basically automatically be on the teacher home tab. And in your teacher home tab, you can get a quick glance at what is currently happening with your class and your students. The teacher home tab also provides you with access to the following iReady features. okay, which is your roster, your assignments, your report, and your resources. So those are all of the things that you can get on your homepage. What can you learn from the homepage? All right, so these are some of the things that you will find when you're there. On your teacher homepage, you can get up-to-date view of how your classes and your students are doing by reviewing the information under the most recent diagnostic. What to know how, if you want to know how your class did on their last reading or math diagnostic, you would click on how did my class perform on the diagnostic? And that will give you a quick access to the class profile report. And your class profile report will give you an overview of your entire class that includes individual student scores as well as domain-specific averages for the report's subject. So because we were really only using it for math, you would get all of the reports related to whatever the students did on math. So at the beginning, the students are given a diagnostics test. On the diagnostics test, however they perform is where they will be put on a specific level, right? So it's important that when we start the new year again in September, I'm pretty sure they're going to make us do the iReady diagnostics assessment for the new students or even for older ones that have been in the building, just to get a benchmark of where they are. They do it every year with my children at their school. And it's basically to give the teacher a baseline of where they are in terms of their skills. It's important for us to let the parents know, especially with the younger children, not to help them. I know that as a parent, we might want to assist our child and not see them get frustrated, but the goal of iReady is to really place the child at their level and not at a level where it's too high and then they're unable to do the work. So it's really supposed to be a diagnostic test where the child does all of the questions individually. And it's okay, like you need to let your parents know it's okay if they get it wrong, because it's not about a right or wrong answer. It's really to help place the child at a level where they know and to help them grow. So that's the goal of iReady. It's not, because I know that there are parents that have helped their child and then they're placing the child at such a high level. And then when the child comes to school and they're not unable to do the work because they were being helped. So it's not a true realistic assessment if parents are helping the child. So when you're completing a diagnostic in the diagnostic testing window, you will need to double check who is done and who is not. And a quick way to check this is to click on which students still need to complete the diagnostic. And clicking here will connect you to a report that shows all of your students that have not completed a test. The report will also include the last a student worked on an assessment. The diagnostic status report will also show progress for both math and reading if we were doing math and reading. So I want you to know that the program does do the reading component. We're just not using it in that way. So yes, like I see some of you have said, I know even though we tell our parents not to help them, that they still help them, you know, but we have to, you know, we have to try our best. And someone also said that you can change the levels when students' levels too high or too low. So yeah, we can, but it's important for us to, you know, see what their true assessment is. And it's hard for us to control who really is helping the child or not from if they're at home. When they're in school, it's so much easier to control their environment. It's harder to do when they're at home and not in front of you. Okay. Another thing that you can learn from your home tab is the instructional process. So basically, teachers can also get an up-to-date view of how their students are progressing through iReady instructional lessons by reviewing the information under the instructional process. your class has been completing instructional lessons on iReady, but how are they really doing? By clicking on how is my class progressing through the online instruction, you can get quick access to class response to instruction report. And then the class response to instruction report will provide you with feedback on how each of your students are doing, as well as how the entire class is doing at instruction in specific domains. Again, I wanted to put that if we were doing it for reading and math, you would be able to do this for both reading and math. We don't know how the district will be going in terms of using iReady, so I wanted you to know that this can be done for both if they ever decide to go with iReady for reading and math. If you don't have time to run the report, but you can want a quick idea of whether or not your students are struggling on instructional lessons, you can do this by clicking on which students are struggling with online lessons. And basically, this is a nice feature because it'll give you a list of any students that iReady has identified as struggling based on failed instructional lessons. And this progress alert provides status, again, in both reading and math. So whenever, at least when my son did his lessons in kindergarten, whenever he failed a lesson, they would make him redo the lesson again until he was able to pass it. They would not allow him to go to another lesson without actually being able to complete that one. So that's another thing to keep in mind. To check the performance and growth of your students. So iReady really has a ton of reports that you can print to really track how your students are doing and at what level they are truly at. So this is what's really nice. It provides you with a ton of data. It really helps you to target your students and help them to grow, right? It's a great diagnostic assessment. If done correctly, and nobody's really helping them, then it's a great way to really track their progress, right? So, because the ultimate goal of iReady is really to show, students' growth and their true understanding of math and reading concepts. It's not about, someone helping them and they getting, this phenomenal grade. So that's what I think. If we really help parents understand what the goal of iReady is, then maybe they will kind of take a step back. Sometimes parents don't know or are not informed of what the students are doing or what their child is doing, and this is why they feel the need that they have to sit there and help them. So I think sometimes informing our parents of what these assessments are doing and the goal of the assessment, then they will have a better understanding. Yes, it's under this, the iReady is under the student portal in Clever. So basically, as students work throughout the school year on diagnostic assessments and instructional activities, and iReady will actually track their progress and create end of the year targets for growth. So we didn't really get to use iReady at the end of the school year so we really didn't get to practice and see what iReady could do. So hopefully now that we're beginning a new school year, we can really see how we can implement iReady results into our lessons, right? It gives you a lot of a glance and a glimpse on whether your students are on track to meeting their goals. You can also click on, is my class on track for end of the year targets? And this is where you can create a progress monitoring report, which will you can retrieve from the reports tab. And it offers both class reports and individualized student reports, so that especially if you have a child that is truly struggling with math skills and you need to really reach out to the parent and show them, right? Because sometimes parents need to see it. They don't really believe it until they see it. So the fact that you're able to print these reports or download these reports and email them to the parents and then explaining it then is great, right? So I like the fact that it gives you tons of data. It gives you tons of information that you can really analyze and provide you with feedback as to how you should continue with your lessons. All right, so getting your classes created and students assigned. So I wanted to show you what you need to do to get your classes set up, okay? So hold on, there's a question on here. I know technology, math, science, computers, etc. It's towards the end. I can show, Michelle, I can show you where it is towards the end of the presentation. I can go onto the portal. Okay, so I'll go on the student portal and show you where you can find it. So here, basically the roster tab is broken down into 3 subcategories: your classes, your students, and your instructional groups. All right, so basically it's broken down so that you can easily access specific details quickly and easily and don't have to go through you know, one thing just to find everything, right? It's really broken down to get things quickly. All right, so your class tab is found under the rosters tab. And this is where you can access all the information regarding your assigned classes. And using your class tab, you can do all of the following things, right? These are all the things that you would do under your class. View your classes that have been assigned to you, add classes, remove or add, view additional teachers. So the nice thing about iReady too is that you can add a cooperating teacher or a teacher that also services your students, like your ESL or the bilingual, onto the account so that you can all share the information. So then there's no reason that, you know, a teacher can say, well, I don't know what score they got. I don't know how he's doing in iReady math skills. They can be added. So like that, they don't also have to bother you for a report. They'll be added to the class and they can access the information themselves. You can edit your assigned class information, view students assigned to your class, add or remove a student, print student usernames and passwords, right? So in order for a child to log on to iReady, they need to have a username and a password. And this is a report that you can print and give it to your students. For the lower grades, especially in kindergarten, they use the pictures. They'll pick the picture that is assigned to them and then they put their code. But that's also something, that's a report that is printed and you can give it to them as well. You can actually add, remove, or view any of your instructional groups, add, remove, view students in your groups. You can add additional teachers in your instructional groups as well. So these are all the things that you would do under your class tab. Okay, if you need to make changes to your class, right, this is what you would do. So the classes that are assigned, so the classes assigned to you may be edited by clicking on edit next to the name of the class. When you choose to edit a class, a new window opens like this one here, right? Like the screenshot. And in this window, you can edit the following details: the class name, your code, your grade level, and your location. Okay. So making changes to teachers assigned to the class. Okay. So here, we will again use the edit feature next to the class to view and make changes to a class's teachers. With the edit class window open, you will need to choose the tab that says teacher assignment. In the teacher assignment tab, you will be able to do the following: view. So for the person that just asked me how to add a teacher, this is how you would do it, okay? So when you add a teacher, I'm not sure if she can make the changes. I believe that they can, but I believe I put that in my presentation. I believe they can. So in the teacher assignment tab, you will be able to do the following. You can view all the teachers associated with the class. You can add an additional teacher to a class, and you can remove a teacher from a class. So let's say that you had the ESL teacher or the bilingual teacher added to your class, but then that teacher is no longer servicing your students or that teacher left, you can remove that teacher, right? You can add or remove at any time. So this is where the person asked me about the adding a teacher. So when adding and removing teachers, make sure that is what you would like to do. Once a teacher is added to a class, they will be able to make changes to the entire class. Also, once a teacher is removed, they will no longer be able to do anything associated with that class and students in that class. This would also include access to reports. So be mindful if when you add a teacher to a class, make sure that you're okay with adding a teacher to your class because they will be able to access the reports or anything related to that class. They'll be able to add students for you as well. It's like your partner. You both can do the same things. Yes, so with iReady, I believe NPS already put the students, automatically puts the students in through the Clever Power School. So I'm not sure because I'm not a homeroom teacher. I did not have access to this features. So I'm not sure how they put it in, but when I logged into my iReady account, it had all of the students that I service tied to them. But I wanted to give you how to add students in case you needed to, just in case. I'd rather give you more information and you not need it than you not having it and then not knowing how to do it. So I believe though, because you know, NPS has tied it to Power School, you don't need to add students to your iReady. It's automatically embedded because we're logging in through Clever. Okay, so how to retrieve your student username and password. So this is what you would need to do to actually give your students their usernames and passwords for them to be able to log on. So the classes subtab under the roster. So here's your roster tab, and then you have your classes, right? It's full of useful tools and information. One very useful tool is retrieving username and passwords for your students. So to get started, you will need to be logged onto iReady and on the roster tab. And then by default, you will already be on the class sub tab. So follow these steps along with iReady screenshots to retrieve your usernames and the passwords for your students. So the first thing you would need to do is on the class sub tab, click on edit next to any of your assigned classes. Okay, and then that will open up the edit class window. From this window, you will find and click the print password button over here. Okay. And then after clicking on print passwords, iReady will create a PDF document that contains a list of all along with your username and passwords, right? Clicking OK will open the PDF on your computer screen. And then the PDF document that contains student usernames and passwords can be saved or printed. Students will use the same username and passwords for all parts of iReady, so you do not need to retrieve this report for all of your classes. Okay, so they will always use the same password and username every time they log on to iReady. All right, so the other nice thing about iReady is making it a personal learning experience. And my son, who was in 3rd grade last year, his teacher did this as well. So whenever he was struggling with a specific concept in math, she would personally assign iReady lessons that dealt with that specific skill to really help him improve in whatever skill he was struggling with at the time. So a teacher can assign as many lessons as she or he wants to a child if they are struggling with any skill that you have taught, right? Again, the ultimate goal of iReady program is to really create a personal learning program for each student. And then while the diagnostic assessments will provide a baseline score, that is a learning plan that is created, you can use the assignments tab to fine-tune students' learning. Okay, so in the assignments, this is where you really can provide individualized instruction for each of your students. Okay, the assignments tab is made up of the following, right? The class management, tests, student lesson plan, extra lessons, and completed. So this is where you would go to give your students any extra lessons that you feel they need to really master a skill. Okay, so in the student lesson plan, it offers you a view of all the instructional activities that have been assigned to your students based on their diagnostic assessment. Using the student's lesson plan category, you will be able to see the instructional activities for the entire class, your instructional groups, and individual students. Okay, I didn't insert a video. Sorry, I have to take that out. So basically, it really allows you to adjust and modify instructional lessons for your students. Okay, so I broke it down into how to use the extra lessons to create individualized learning for your students. So the extra lessons category, that's where you would go to add additional instructional activities to a student's current lesson plan, right? So when the student takes a diagnostic test, iReady will automatically design lessons for them to do to help move them to their target, right? But if throughout the school year, you are teaching a math lesson and a skill and the child is not really understanding that skill, you can do extra lessons to help them really master something, right? So the extra lessons category gives you the ability to provide added support to a struggling student or additional challenge to an advanced student. So you can also use this feature for those students that need a challenge. So don't just think it's about giving additional support to the struggling students. You can also use this for students that need to be challenged and are ready to move on. So think of it that way. So here's your differentiation of activities, providing students with support or then, really giving that challenge to the students, right? So the extra lessons are added to a student's lesson plan. The student will see a choice to start these extra instructional activities when they sign into iReady. And from the student view, right, whenever they log on the left-hand side, that is where they will see it will say teacher assigned lessons, right? So whenever my son's teacher did that, she would send him, send me an email or send him a message in Google Classroom letting him know that for today's iReady time that he spent on iReady, she would want him to complete the teacher assigned lessons first. So in my son's district, they had to do at least 45 minutes a day in iReady. So they are very, very big on using iReady here. And they use it for reading and math. So every day the students had an assigned time where they had to complete at least one iReady lesson or spend about one period doing iReady. So they were very big and they based a lot of their data on how the students performed in their iReady. Okay, when completed lesson, using your completed lessons to gauge student success. So again, it's very data driven. So it provides you with a lot of data on how you can move, right, your students, or if you need to, move back. 45 minutes each for math and ELA. So in their actual block, when they were in the building, they had to do 45 minutes of ELA and 45 minutes of math. When they were home doing distance learning, they had to at least complete one full lesson for ELA and one full lesson for math every single day. Yes, it was, they really use iReady a lot for everything. So they literally had to be on it every single day at least one lesson for each, for ELA and math. I know that in our district, we're just using iReady for math. I don't know how much they want our students to be on it. That's something I guess the principals and VPs will be providing. He did improve. He did, especially my little one, because it's so interactive. I would let them do it also on their iPad. So it's, it's touchscreen. They actually enjoy some of the activities because there's songs, they know the characters. It's kind of very engaging, especially for the little kids. Probably not as fun for the older grades, but definitely for the younger kids, they enjoyed it. Yeah, so it depends on the building and the school district. Some school districts rely heavily on iReady results and some not as much, but with us, it was every day. All right, so using how to gauge your student success, right? So the final subcategory on the assignments tab is your completed lessons. So this will show you all of the lessons that your students have completed, right? And this will offer you a quick way to see how the students are progressing on their instructional assignments, right? When this child completes a lesson, they're going to get their score at the end of the lesson. It'll tell them exactly how well they did. The student can also track how many lessons they've done. It'll tell them how many minutes they've spent on iReady. It'll tell them, it has goals for them. It'll tell them how many lessons that they've mastered and done very well out of how many lessons. So it's really very informative, even on the student side, right? It gives them a lot of information. So using completed lessons, you are able to see all the lessons an individual student has completed, and the information provided includes the following for each lesson: when they completed it, the domain, the name, whether or not it was an extra lesson that you assigned or did not, whether the lesson was paused or failed, and the score they received, and the time spent on the lesson. And this is very informative because, especially time, because if a child is only spending, 5 minutes on a lesson and he scored bad, that tells you that he didn't spend enough time on the lesson to really perform well. So having that as part of one of its features really will tell you, well, Jose, you only spent like 5 minutes on this lesson. I really want you to take your time. This is a conversation that you might need to have with your student or the parent. So that will tell you exactly what it is that your student is doing on a specific lesson. That's what I like about when it provides you with time spent on a lesson. It's the same thing with boom cards. When I was doing it with my students, I would call them out on it. I'm like, well, you spent 2 minutes on the lesson. So this is why you didn't do well. I personally like things that give me how much time a student spends, because I can then call them out and say, well, this is why you didn't do well, So one of the things that I suggest is looking at your completed lessons regularly, and because it really will give you, an idea of how your students are progressing, what you need to do to adjust your lesson plans as we're going throughout the school year, especially if we're not sitting in front of the students every single day and, not being able to do what we would normally do in a given normal circumstance. This at least will help you to kind of make your plans on how you can adjust your lesson plans. All right, so this is what you will see in your completed, if what they scored, if they passed or fail, if it was an extra lesson or not. It will, tell you that here. They'll tell you how much time, when they completed it, what domain it was, and the lesson. Okay. Sometimes, and one of the things that you might be asking yourself is, are the students really learning when they are on iReady, right? That's our question all the time. Are they really learning? Are they getting what I'm teaching? Is the material that I deliver really, are they understanding? So the goal, and that's what iReady has pushed, is that their goal is to really increase the understanding of students in the areas of math and reading. Again, for us, it's only in the math area because that's how we're using the program. To help determine if proper growth is being made, iReady offers a wealth of reports that can be retrieved by all users. So if there's a teacher that is in your class, she can also have, or he has access to the reports. And they're broken down into two categories, the class reports and your student reports. And both of these reports can be found in your roster tab, okay? The iReady class reports can be retrieved to find data regarding all of your students, right, at one time, or your instructional groups. And your class reports are a great way to find trends within a class, right? So if you want to look for print a report on a lesson that all of your students did, and to see if there's a trend or if the majority of the class did not get it, then it tells you, well, I need to do a mini lesson on this skill. The kids are still not getting it. So that gives you like a quick overview of the whole class, as opposed to the student reports. And then there are many different class reports, and in the, I have to take the video, I didn't put videos in here. There are different class reports that you can get from the students, right, to see. The student reports are basically to guide you on an individualized student and not the whole class as a whole. It will really guide you to better understand an individual student's strengths and weaknesses. So if there is a child in your class that you know is really, really struggling, and you want to get a better idea as to why they're struggling, printing an individualized report will kind of help you understand what is it that they're struggling with and what they need more support, or if they're getting everything right, what kind of challenge you would need to give that child. That's another way for you to think of it, right? It's not, sometimes we think about our struggling students, and sometimes because there's more than students that need that challenge. So we also have to keep in mind the students that need to get challenged throughout the school year, even though they're not as many as the strugglers. So the student reports can be created as both individualized reports as well as a batch of reports for an entire class or your instructional groups. And then it's a great way to zero on how each student is doing, as well as providing information to share with parents and other teachers that may work with the student. Again, if you already add the teacher to that report or to your class, then you won't need to really worry about giving her the reports because she has access. So I have, put this in here for you to print. You can just click on the link. It's going to take you to a PDF. If you want to use any of this, you can delete the reading because we're not doing reading for iReady. So you can just erase it, and you can just track the goals if you want for each of your students. So there's 3 different copies on here, and you can print it and delete the math if you want. The reading, I'm sorry, because we're not doing it. iReady for reading. You can put reading on there for, and put the name of the test that we're using for reading if you want to have both scores on here, but we are not using iReady in terms of reading. Okay, I think I had a question from Laura. Just give me a sec. All right, let me just mute everyone. All right. So for lower grades, catered to the time was 15 to 20 minutes. Okay. And then Laura, you said to add teachers. Okay, I'll go back to that part of the slide on how to add teachers. Okay. So so you would have to, Laura, so when you're in your class, in your roster, okay, and you go to your classes, so to make you gotta go here. You have to go to the edit feature. where it says teacher assignment.
Right, but I don't see that, Sylvia. When
You
I'm
don't find yours?
no, I don't see any of that. That's why I'm a little confused because I don't see any of that information on my screen. So
Okay.
I don't know where. When
Do
I
you
go,
do you see the roster? Roster?
so when I go in, I do see right on the top, I see rosters, assess and teach, reports, and then help. And when I click on roster,
Mhm.
I just get the names of all of my students, their username and their student ID and the grade level that they're in, which is, grade 3. And
Right.
I don't see no button to edit, to add a teacher. I don't see any of that.
Do you want to share your screen?
I could. I'm on my other computer.
So,
So
Sylvia, I find it's Murphy Butler.
Yeah.
I find the same thing that whoever's speaking is saying. I don't have that screen. I just pulled my
Right.
iReady up and
Yeah,
it looks
doesn't.
totally different. I'm
Yeah,
wondering
exactly.
if your building if you've been using this, because I was only introduced to this after COVID hit. If your building maybe has like a premium edition.
No, because I'm in her. I'm
Or
I'm
you're in
at
her
South
building
Street.
too. Oh, all right.
So
I'm
Okay.
at South Street.
So I got this information from the iReady site on what they offer, right?
Okay.
So because I'm not a homeroom teacher, I don't even have access to any of this information.
Okay.
We don't see any of that. So none of that you were showing about, because that would be really wonderful. I worked with a resource teacher and my bilingual support teacher, and I wish that I was able to add them because then they would be able
Yeah,
to
that
go
would
in.
be great.
Yes, and they can also adjust lessons and add lessons, but none of that you're showing, adding the assigning lessons to children. Yes, that I know we can do, and I've done that. But I cannot add any teacher, and it looks totally different, like Miss Murphy Butler said. We don't see any of that.
I can try to share my screen if you want to see what it looks
Yeah,
like.
I mean, like, so when I because I don't have access to iReady,
Okay.
because I'm not a homeroom teacher, it's limited on what I see, right? Or what I can do.
Right.
When I went on iReady, they specifically said that these are the features that people can do with iReady.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Sylvia,
when you
Yes.
started, go ahead.
Go ahead.
are you
Well, I
hearing
was
me,
just gonna.
Sylvia? This is Gail.
Yes.
You hear me?
Yep, I hear you.
Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, my administrator, I am a resource teacher as well. My
Uh-huh.
administrator had to add me to my teachers list through
Oh,
our
okay.
teacher. So that's where that I was able to get into iReady through the teacher because he had to add you through the power teacher.
Okay.
Because I don't have a classroom, a homeroom per se,
Mm-hmm.
then I had to be added to the teacher.
So it could be something that Newark has, the way that Newark has purchased the program, that we're limited on what we can do.
Exactly. So I had to be added to the power teacher. I mean, and this way I was able to access iReady through them. Before I could
But
not do
were
it.
you able to print the reports and all of that stuff, or no?
I don't want to tell a lie. I don't want to tell a lie. I think I were able to print
Okay.
report, and if not, the teachers printed for me. But I don't want to tell a lie. I can't say that 100%.
Okay.
But I was able to access iReady, go in, see what the kids are doing, and everything. But
All
I
right.
had to, he had to add me to the power teacher in their classroom or whatever
Okay.
teachers I had.
So again, I apologize. I mean, we should be able to do these things because according to iReady, this is what they say that we should be able to do.
Right.
But if NPS has said, and set it up a different way, then I apologize. But, since Gail has said that she was able to get added, then when we get to the building, whoever is working with us, we would just ask the administrator to add that person to our iReady account. I guess that's what we would have to do.
Yeah, because when you started, I thought like, oh, they must have updated iReady because it looked totally different. I didn't realize, the different, it's a different platform. But yeah, you can print the reports
Yeah.
on
So
normal.
this is direct, like all of the information that I got is directly from the iReady website. So it came strictly from iReady. Now, if they have it set up differently in Newark, like I said, I don't really have access to it because I'm not a homeroom teacher, so they didn't give me access to it. So I wasn't able to really do much because I really wanted to play around with the platform. I know all of the information that I know because my kids use it, and I'm familiar with the student view very, very well because they have been using it for a couple of years now. So other than that, like as far as the teacher view, unfortunately, I was not able to play around with the platform because I was not given access to it as a teacher. I was very limited as what I can do because I can even show you what I have on my end, and it's a shame that we just can't do add the teacher ourselves. But if there's a way around it, then we can ask an administrator. So here is like where we would go on the NPS website. You have the students, and then you go here to log in, and you're in Clever. And then you're gonna scroll all the way, and it's under, where is it? Right here, under Math, Science, and Computers. And then you click on iReady. Okay, so when I log in, this is all I have. I have a roster of students that I serviced, and that's it. And then all I can do is add a report group and nothing else. Like it doesn't even let me do anything because I was not given. So I couldn't even explore or do anything because I was basically not given any access whatsoever. So I couldn't even assign, I guess because I'm not linked to a specific homeroom teacher, I was not able to do any of that stuff. So it gave me limited access, and I wanted to be able to provide you with more information on the teacher end, but again, this is all I had. They didn't give me much of anything. So this is probably something that we can reach out to our administrators because it is something that iReady does, which is allow us to have other teachers onto our account. Okay, I think 1 or 2 administrators in Newark was given the iReady license. Yeah, I'm not sure, but maybe that's something that we can reach out to administrators and find out if they can add us to the, the account so that more than one person can share. Yeah, so I tried my best to create and give you some information about iReady as far as the reports and assigning the lessons. There's really not much to learn about iReady because it's kind of like a simple program other than, being able to print the reports and assigning lessons. That's what you kind of really need to know. Because it's set up with Clever, your class is automatically embedded into iReady when you log in. But as a student, from the student point, the student has to log in, put in their information, and basically it will either move them up or move them back down depending on how they do in each of the lessons. So at least for reading, it actually tells them what level, and even math, if they're a level A or a B, a C level, depending on how well they do on each of the lessons. So that's all you really need to know about iReady. So I apologize ahead of time. I really thought you would be able to do this because when I did the research, and everywhere that I looked about in terms of the teacher side for iReady, it did say you were able to do these features, but I guess this is again something that NPS has put a restriction on how much we can do.
So Sylvia, I think we will, as we move forward, we'll be allowed to do a little bit more with it. Because I even tried to use the toolbox a few times and couldn't. I did ask my administrator, who was going to reach out to the SLT or whatever we even call them now, and try to get the information. So I think moving forward, we'll probably have access to more of it. So don't feel bad. Right. And I like the fact that you can see the student side of it, because that's what I wanted to be able to see. So I knew how the kids were looking at it. So,
I mean, if you guys want me to log in like my kids, I can, and I can show you what it looks like in the student. So I can log in with their information if you guys want to see what the students see. But basically, like the students will keep getting their lessons. So if you would like me to log on as a student, I can do that for you guys to see. It's up to you. But it's really like they get all the information. They have games on iReady that they can play for challenges. They will have like a little star, a bar that will show them as they keep progressing and doing well on lessons, to kind of give them some like positive reinforcement that they're doing well. Let's keep going. Let's keep doing well on our lessons. And then they, on the left-hand side, they would always find the teacher assigned lessons. So if you have a teacher assigned lesson and you rather the student work on the teacher assigned lesson than the iReady assigned lesson, then I would just let your students know ahead of time that you have assigned a lesson on iReady and you would like them to complete that lesson for today, as opposed to doing an iReady assigned lesson.
Sylvia, I would like to see what the kids are looking at from the student's point of view.
Sure. Okay, so let me log in. I'll share my screen. So whenever the students are going to log in to iReady, this is what they are going to see, right? Then they put in their username, their password, and then they have to pick the state that they're in. And then, oh, did I put the wrong password? I think I'm putting the wrong password. They probably blocked it already. They probably don't let
Enter your class number.
See. This is for the little ones. Let me see if I can get on with my little one.
right. They're going to block your poor kid out.
Let me see. Oh, no. Is that the right one?
Oops,
No.
wrong class number.
Hold on.
Try.
I don't think I remember it. I don't know if I remember the class number. No, I can't remember it. And I don't know.
You know what? They
We
could
get
be,
an
I mean,
idea.
they could be enrolled now in the next grade too,
Right.
depending on, you know, the years
so I
older.
don't know. They might not
So.
be able to let me log on.
Yeah, yeah.
Because of them rolling them over. So like for the KN1 students, they would log on here, and then the other students, they would log on here, and then
Right.
they would just click log in. But basically, for our students, they will go in through Clever. They don't have to go in through here. So you can just tell them, or you can, if you have your Google Classroom, you can just give them the link. They might not know how to go through the NPS website and then do all of that information. Regardless, they still need a username and password, whether you go in through, you know, Clever or not. But that's, I mean, that's it that I have for iReady. You know, so if any of you need to go on, they were not able to access iReady through the iPad, Laura, they have to download the app. on iReady.
Right, yeah, we had a lot of trouble with that. So we had some kids that ended up going to pick up Chromebooks because they were having access with their iPad, and their parents may not have known how to.
Yeah, work around it. So
Okay.
sometimes, on the iPad, it says like, oh, it's, please let your teacher know that it's not, the versions don't match, but
Right.
actually they would just click OK and it actually does work. So sometimes they see that message and they'd be like, oh, I can't do it from my iPad, but you actually can. You just have to click OK, and then
Right.
it does allow them to do the activities.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Because my kids did it. It would show up on the iPad as not being a compatible version of it, but we clicked OK, and then it allowed them to do it. And it would just keep moving them forward regardless. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. So that's as far as I have for iReady. Hopefully, like Ms. Murphy Butler said, that the district, because we really only started with iReady at the end of the school year. So I'm hoping that now come September, they're going to open up more features for all of us to use, because we weren't really using iReady at first. They were starting with iReady, then they got rid of iReady, then they brought it back. So we'll see what happens come September.
Sylvia, I have a quick question. I do have iReady. We did our school for math. The only thing is, it was the principal that loaded the names and everything in there. So I'm wondering, but now we're getting a new principal, and we still, on top of that, we still didn't get that survey because our principal didn't come in yet. So hopefully we'll hear something this week. So I don't know if the principal is going to do what the other principal did, such as load all the names in iReady. But
So it should automatically be linked to your Power School. So whichever kids are assigned to your Power School should automatically move over to your iReady.
what I see is last year's kids from first grade, and now the difference is I'm in second, and it still looks like the kids I have from last year. Because what I did, I printed out the diagnostic tests and so forth. So my question is, I'm just wondering, but then again, I don't have the roster. So that's the other thing too. So basically at this point in time, I feel like I need to wait until they give me the list of names. I mean, because I don't think there's any other way as far as that's concerned, as far as adding the names to iReady.
Yeah. All right. And Kathleen just said, if you haven't gotten the survey, just reach out to the VPs in the building.
Okay, well, we have a new VP, so the new VP isn't in yet.
A lot of new people.
Exactly. So that's the reason why some of this information that I was hearing today was good, besides looking at Facebook, thanks to what you had shared yesterday. So, okay, as far as that's concerned, thanks so much.
Yolanda, do you have a rep in your building?
Yes, I do. So I could probably, I'll speak with her.
Reach out to your rep and let them know, or reach out to the union and tell them that you haven't gotten anything yet. And wait, they're supposed to send it by tomorrow, so just do that.
Yeah, I'm going to wait till tomorrow because I think, we're going to have to hear something. And that was when I heard you say that today, that was my goal. And, as far as trying to get things ahead of time, that's when I look at iReady and I look at these applications. I'm trying to get ahead of time, but it's hard when nothing's set up at this point. So it's like a little crazy. Thanks for the info.
And don't waste all your time, because we'll probably do all the
Yes.
work and then it'll be for naught.
So, be mindful. Like, I know, like right now we want to get ahead, but, it's kind of hard. It's going to be hard for you because things can change tomorrow and they're going to be like, oh, well, whatever, So just be mindful. I mean, like, this is why I say, like, to give yourself some time to kind of process everything that you've learned, that you have touched upon, and, you're going to learn as you go through the year, right? And we're going to come across stumbling blocks, or we're going to come across roadblocks where we're like, well, I didn't know how to do it, or I'm not sure. And, like, administrators are going to have to be flexible with us. We're going to have to be flexible with, things. And It's just, nobody knows. It's very unknown right now, so we have to be just flexible in what happens. And like I said, we'll have workshops throughout the school year. We'll come back and revisit whatever it is that we need to. So, just be patient. I know that sometimes we want to get everything done, but some things, we have to wait and see what happens.
Thanks so much.
Yes, no problem. So Michelle just wanted me to show her how to get onto Clever one more time. So Michelle, if you go onto your NPS website, okay, so you're going to open up NPS, the main page. Okay, you're going to go to students, your student portal. You're going to log in with Google. And then you're going to go all the way down to, you're going to you have your PD, your technology, your language arts. You're going to go down to math, science, and computers because we are using iReady as a math assessment, right? So for ELA, they're using the Lexia, the Power Up for ELA. For math, we're using iReady. So we would click here. And then
okay, so that must be for lower grades because I teach high school and I don't have that.
Okay.
I have the other three, Pearson. I have the other things, but I don't have that already.
It's probably just for elementary then.
All right, thank you.
No problem. That's probably why you're not seeing it. Okay. So for those of you that are okay with Pear Deck, if you want to stick around, I was just going to kind of show you again how to get onto Pear Deck and kind of get the slides on there and how to choose a slide for Pear Deck. So I was just going to review that for the remainder of the time. But if those of you that are okay and don't really need to see it, you're free to go. It's up to you. Okay. So I wanted to give you that option. So if any of you that are logging off, please make sure to fill out the exit survey so that you can, provide some feedback for me in terms of workshops. So I thank each and every one of you. I hope that you enjoyed the workshops and that they were beneficial to you in every way. So, and I hope to continue to help you along the way. So the Google Classroom, I believe there was a question on here about the Google Classroom. The Google Classroom will be up throughout the school year. I'm not going to take it down. The resources will continue to be there. You can always come back to the resources, see them. If I happen to learn of resources or things that I think would be beneficial to you, I will put them onto the Google Classroom so that you can see them as well, okay? And I appreciate each and every one of you for coming on. I will continue to work on the survey, the certificates for you from last week and this week. So any of you that need to go, I hope that you enjoy the rest of your summer. Please take time to take care of yourself, okay? It's really important for us to take care of ourselves before anything else. So sometimes we're so focused on worrying about, everyone that we forget to take time for us. So take the next couple of weeks to really take care of yourself and to mentally prepare yourself for what to come, right? Because I think that's what we really need to do. Just prepare. And that's all I have to say as far as that. So those of you that need to go, you're more than welcome to leave. The rest of you, I will just go over Pear Deck quickly so that you can see how to do a lesson. So let me open up a Google slide. Okay. Let me share my screen. So to do a Pear Deck, you would go into your Google Slides, okay? And then you go on to your add-ons. and then you click here, Pear Deck for Google Slides add-on, and then you would open Pear Deck add-on. Okay. So when you do a Pear Deck add-on, all right, it gives you these options. So basically you can give them a choice, a number, do a website, a draggable slide, or a text slide. You also have the template library, right? So in your template library here, you have all these different options of what you can do to build a lesson, right? So I would recommend starting out with using the template library to really get yourself familiar with how to use Pear Deck, right? So at the beginning of a lesson, you can go here and pick different slides that you could choose for a beginning of a lesson, right? You can pick whichever one you want, okay? So for example, I want to activate prior knowledge or start some collaboration of conversation amongst my students before we begin a lesson. So maybe I pick this slide here for my beginning of the lesson, and it's going to put it here. So here, remember I said never to touch this bar here, because that is how it codes the slide to make it interactive. So here is a thinking slide where students would write a response to a question that you asked. So the nice thing about it is that you can change the question here, all right? So if it's a beginning of the school year activity, I would say, ask them this question. What is one thing you enjoyed about your summer? Okay, so I can change the question as you saw. I can, if I want to change the font, I can come on here and change the font. I can change the size of the font. It's totally up to you. I can even change the color of the font.
Sylvia,
Yes.
what did you ask not to touch a few minutes ago? I'm sorry, I didn't see.
Okay. So never to touch the gray bar at the bottom of a Pear Deck interactive slide, because this bar here codes the slide to make it interactive. So if you if you touch it or try to remove it, then it removes the coding from the slide that makes it interactive. Okay, so let's say I'm starting a slide, just getting to know students. So I pose this question here. What is one thing you enjoyed about your summer? Okay, then maybe you might want to add another slide that asks them, a thumbs up or thumbs down activity, which is like a poll. And you can say something like that, like this. Are you happy to be back in school? Maybe that's a question that you want to ask your students. So you're starting a lesson about everything that talks about being back in school and how do they feel. You want to kind of like, an icebreaker activity. So here, when you present the lesson, the students would drag the little blue ball to yes or no, right? This is a draggable slide. Okay, so that's all I have for a beginning of a lesson. Now I want to do something during my lesson. We've talked about it, the beginning of the school, how they felt, one of their things that they did that they enjoyed over the summer. And then maybe you want to do another, let's see, you can do, and I'm trying to think of a question that you can possibly ask them. Okay, maybe this one right here. Okay. and then maybe you want to, find out from your students, do you feel comfortable sharing your thoughts out loud right now? Or you want to ask them a different question? Again, you can always go back to the question here. I can change it. I can make it bigger. I can move it around. So any things that is on the actual slide, you can change except for the people. So anything that is clickable, you can change. I can change again the font by going here. I have to click over it. Okay, and then let's say I want to pick this font, I want to make it bigger. I can do that. I can change the format. This is left, centered. Okay, if I want it in the middle of my box, text box, at the top, at the bottom. So you can play with all of that, right? And I can change the question. I can change the color. So there was a question here. Yes, the data is saved when they respond to the questions. Now, there's certain features that Pear Deck will not give us once it no longer gives us the premium. Once our premium trial is over, there's going to be certain features that we won't have access to. Last year, at the end of last year, Pear Deck actually provided all of its packages for free for teachers because we were doing distance learning and everybody was home. I'm not sure if they will provide features from their premium package in the fall. We'll just have to see, but we can still use all of the free stuff that Pear Deck provides for us. And then maybe I just want to end the lesson. I want to end my lesson with, let's see, I want them to draw, okay? And I'll pick a slide from here, okay? How are you feeling today? And then they would draw a circle around how they're feeling. I can change the question, I can change the color, I can change the font, I could do all of that. And then once I'm done, right, I just want 4 slides for that day. Let me get rid of this slide here. If I just want 4 for that lesson, I'm done. Because it's in Google Slides, it automatically saves it. And then I would name my lesson, Getting to Know You, right? And then if I'm ready to and completed the lesson, then I would click here, Start Lesson. You also can add social emotional learning slides on there. You have the littles, like a K-2. If you want to add math questions or ELA questions, you can pick from the bank here. So you would pick here, right? And you have different slides that you can use if you're doing ELA. So you have story maps if you're doing a story, you have understanding reading, you have Venn diagrams here. So you can actually explore the pre-made slides that are here. The nice thing about Pear Deck too is that, let's say you have a lesson already that you have designed in Google Slides, but you want to add some interactive slides in your current presentation or a presentation that you have created. The only thing that you would need to do is open up your presentation that you have created in Google Slides. And then all you would need to do is go to where it is that you want to insert the slide, click on the slide that you want, and then it's going to insert an interactive slide after the slide that you have just clicked. Does that make sense? So if I have created a Google Slides presentation and I want to insert an interactive slide in a presentation that I have already created, so I click on the slide that I want my interactive slide to follow. Right? So this is just if you want to create your lesson from interactive slides only. right? And you have different options of what you can have. They have the library, like use it because it has already slides that are set up for you that you don't have to really recreate. And then if I'm ready to present, I would just say start lesson. Okay, and you're going to do remember, there's a difference between student paced, the students work on it independently. An instructor paced, you control how fast or how slow you go through each slide. If I'm doing a getting to know you presentation, I would definitely pick the instructor paced activity because I want to control how fast we go. The student paced activities for Pear Deck are in their premium package. So you won't be able to access it after the 3 months. So you get 90 days of their premium package when you sign up, which is about, about 3 months. I don't know what Pear Deck will decide to do moving forward, but at least you have a full 90 days of getting all of the premium features for free. So I would click here. I'm logging in with my account, and then basically it's going to launch my lesson. Okay, and then this is the code that the students need to be able to log on to your lesson. So this is the code that you're going to share, and then and over here it's going to say waiting for students to actually pop on. Okay, and then this is my lesson, right? And then we would go through the lesson. When I did, if you go back to my video, we actually did a lesson together. So you can go back to the Pear Deck and you can see, what happened there as well. So for those of you that want, for example, if I wanted to add interactive slides to one of my presentations that I have already created, for example, let me see if I have one here. Did I do this one here? Okay. So here's a lesson that I already had, and I actually put in interactive slides. So I had created this lesson about verbs for my students. And then here is where I added an interactive slide for them. And then here I taught them about the different parts of the verb, the past, the present, and the future. And then I asked them another, a true false question. Okay. And then if I want to add another Pear Deck interactive slide, I would just go here, add on, go to Pear Deck, open Pear Deck. Okay. And then I can go to the library, go to my drawing, and then I can ask them another question here. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to add this slide here. Let's say I want to ask them this question. Is learning about verbs fun? Okay, agree or disagree. But maybe I'm like, well, I really didn't want to add it there. I want to add it up here. I can just drag. So do you see what I did? So whenever I create a slide, I can actually move it. So I would just hold the slide down, hold my left mouse key, and then I can drag it up or down. So sometimes when I'm creating a presentation, I'm like, well, I really didn't want that there. I think it would be better after this slide. So even though you put it somewhere or create it in a specific location, it doesn't mean it has to live there. You have the flexibility of moving your slides up or down. So that's where you would do it here on this side. So here I also added another question for the students where I said, draw or type 2 things you learned in today's lesson. So it gives them the flexibility of drawing something or adding. And then here how well did you like this lesson? Again, they would drag their little blue dot to whether they liked it or not. So that's all you really, so you have two options. Look at the already pre-made Pear Deck slides that are already created for you, and then just modify them, because like that, it doesn't make you having to recreate everything on your own. But you can definitely add these slides to a presentation that you have already created for your students, a lesson that you have shared with them, and maybe you just want to make it more interactive, then this is what you would do to make it interactive. So the drawing feature is part of the premium package, and the draggable slides is also part of the premium package. But like I said, yesterday when I did Nearpod, Nearpod has a lot more features for free than Pear Deck. So again, you can use, and because it's also interactive as well, so even if we can't use Pear Deck all the time, we have that option of using Nearpod for other things too. So just keep that in mind, that you don't have to use all the platforms all at one time, but just know that they're there and that you can easily go from one platform to another to kind of make your lessons a little bit engaging for your students. Does anyone have any questions so far?
Yes, I do, Sylvia.
Yes.
As you were doing the presentation.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you just muted yourself, Gail.
Can you hear me?
Yep, now I can.
Okay. I did go back to the Google Drive, went through the process, and my window, I was trying to see the same slides that you were seeing. I guess you added in. Now it has, I guess, a startup. And I don't know. Is it possible I can share my screen with you?
Sure. Let me stop sharing mine, and then you can share yours. Go ahead.
Let's see where it is. I think here. Are you seeing it now?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, you see, am I supposed to see this over here?
Yep, you are.
Uh-huh. So, because I don't have any slides yet.
Right.
So, where would I get started with the temporary library?
So yeah, you can just go to the template library.
And then this would be a beginning lesson. So
Yep.
I'm just gonna. Okay, and then I just click one and then write whatever I want.
Yep.
In little boxes and go from there. I see what you say. It's already done there.
Yeah. So
okay.
See what's already there pre-made for you, so that you don't have to kind of like reinvent the slide yourself. Right?
Exactly.
Because sometimes, like even going under the ELA, it has the Venn diagram there for you. So why are you gonna sit there and try to draw the Venn diagram and make it, and then do all of that? It's already there, right? So
okay.
I would just use the templates that are there.
They're already slide in.
And just slide it in. So you can start out your lesson by putting the objectives, by putting, what the students are expected to learn by the end of the lesson, so that you're letting them know what they're going to be doing, what your expectations are by the end of the lesson. So you can have all of those in and then add your interactive slides, right? You can have a mixture of both. You don't have to just have instructional slides or all Pear Deck slides, interactive slides. You can actually embed an instructional slide and then add your Pear Deck slides in one lesson.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
Okay, yeah. So I would start, like if you're starting a lesson on, I don't know, like on verbs, you're gonna like have your objectives. You're gonna let the students know what the expectations are for the lesson, what you expect them to learn by the end of the lesson. And then you can go into different things about what you are going to teach them or however you want to present it, right? And then you can add, the activating prior knowledge by, adding a beginning of the lesson slide in there and having them drag their response, or how, think about how you want to make it interactive. So you don't have to make it all interactive.
Okay, so in other words, when I do make it interactive, because you do want to respond,
Right.
when you're asking the question, will they continue to, will they write on that same slide or
Mhm.
answer the question on that slide?
Right.
Now let me ask this question. This make me kind of crazy.
Mhm.
Now, but I'm going to assign this to all the students, right?
Yes.
So when I assign this to all the students, do I put this on Google Drive, Google Classroom? How, that's my question. In other words, if I'm doing a presentation and I want them to respond being interactive, am I doing this with them?
You're doing this with them. Yes, you would do this with them.
But now, let me ask you, when I ask for a response and I'm doing it with them, asking for a response, are they going to all write on the same slide?
So I don't know if you go back to the presentation that I did when I did Pear Deck, and I showed it. We actually did a lesson together. I don't know if you were there for that presentation, and I actually showed you what it looked like on the teacher side, where I actually displayed what your responses were. And then as the teacher, you can discuss the responses of the students.
So if it's in your Google Classroom, right?
Yes, yes.
So I can go back and look at it.
So
Okay.
I would definitely go back, because I won't be able to do that with you.
Oh, not a problem.
Right now, unless I actually start a lesson again. So I would just recommend you going back to the video, and I actually showed you exactly on what the teacher would see and be able to display to the students, because you want to be able to discuss the results of the slide, right? Especially if you're asking a question and the majority of the students got it wrong, you want to show the students. So the nice thing about Pear Deck is that the students won't see who answered what. So then the students don't know who got the wrong answer, right? Or who got the right answer. So then
when I go back to the Google Drive, click on the assignment, click on your assignment. I'm going to be able to see the video, or where can I?
Yeah, so you want me to show you?
Yes. You want me to stop sharing? Let me stop sharing.
So you're going to go to the Google Classroom, right? Not to my Google Drive, or not to your Google Drive. You're going to go to the Google Classroom that we have. So I'll show you where it is. Okay. So here's the when I come on here, all right, you're going to go to the classwork. Okay. And then you're going to go to Pear Deck.
Pear Deck.
And then you're going to go here to the training video. And here, that is where I actually went into a detailed lesson, because I actually had some of the teachers in the workshop participate. So they actually joined the lesson, and we actually they saw what would happen as the kids would log on. So it was actually interactive video where you can see what would happen throughout a lesson whenever you do a lesson with your students.
Okay. Well, the only other question I have is just, don't forget me at the end with the other part that I want to deal with.
The Bitmoji, right?
Okay. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. So does anyone else have any other questions?
Yes, I do. So if I create a slide, what's the easiest way to get rid of it, to delete it?
Okay, so let's say I want to delete a slide. I just click on the slide.
Click on the slide.
And then I click the word delete, and it deletes it.
Where's the word delete?
On your keyboard. Click delete.
Oh, on the keyboard. Okay.
On the keyboard, yep. If I didn't want to delete it and I did it by mistake, I just click undo and I bring it back. Do you see that?
Yes, thanks.
No problem. Okay, I think I answered for the most part all the questions. Somebody asked about Screencastify. Okay, Melissa, I think it was Melissa, right? Let's see. So, the one, okay. So Melissa, you said you can't find the one that I am using. So did you click on, when you went to my Google Chrome extensions, did you click on the link that I posted on there? Melissa? Is she on here?
Maybe not.
I'm not sure if she's here. Oh, yeah, she's here. But Melissa, are you still here? Okay, I'm not sure.
Maybe she muted herself.
Yeah,
Maybe she may.
okay. I don't know. All right, I guess if she comes on then. All right, but that's as far as I have in terms of Pear Deck. I would really like, if you're still unfamiliar with what it looks like as far as the student and teacher view, I would definitely recommend going back to that video and looking at the lesson again, and it will really provide you with some clarity. In the future, you know, come September, October, you know, if we're really using Pear Deck and you feel that you have a need, and there's a lot of teachers that are reaching out and saying, I would like a refresher workshop on Pear Deck, then we will come back and do a refresher PD. So, I mean, I don't want you guys to panic. So, you know, I will be around, like I said, as much as I could throughout the school year. I don't know what it's going to look like. So I'm sure for a lot of us, September will be a very overwhelming time. Because it's going to feel overwhelming, but I promise I will, you know, be around to support you as best as I can, you know, in whatever ways that I can. So I don't want you to panic. I promise I will be here, unless hopefully nothing happens to me, but I will be around to support you. So if nobody else has any questions about Pear Deck, I will move on to the next question. Oh, Melissa, you're here. Here.
Yes.
Okay. Did you see? The Google Chrome extensions that I have sent?
In Google Classroom?
Yeah. Yeah. Because
I
you're.
don't think so. I
Because
was saying that they're not I'm not getting custom cursor.
But did you click on the link? Did you click on the link that I sent?
No.
Okay, so that's what you need to do. So when you come on here to the Google Classroom,
Mm-hmm.
go to the Google Classroom and then click here. Google Chrome extensions.
Oh yes, I've done this.
Okay.
But okay.
So the custom cursor is right here.
Okay, I'll do that one.
Okay.
Do you know what's going on with Screencastify?
No.
Like, is it?
No.
You still have it, right?
I still have it.
I don't know. I don't know where mine disappeared to. I might have too many extensions that I've unpinned, and I don't know.
Yeah. So
figure it out.
what I recommend to you is check here in your extensions. So click this little button. And make sure that it's
Yeah, that's probably what happened because I couldn't find it yesterday.
Yeah. So
can I also say? Thank you. Can I also say something about Pear Deck?
Sure.
I've used it a couple of times. It takes some getting used to. But I think the thing is that you have to try it out, and you can be on your phone and on your computer and just go in as a student and see how it looks.
Yes.
Like you could just try it out on your own. You could just, put in the code and just do it, follow along with the questions that you set up. So that will, it will become easier with time, but I think Pear Deck is something you have to get used to.
Yeah, so it's like I said, you kind of have to try it, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
Sylvia,
Yes.
when I clicked the extensions, the Bitmoji, could you show me exactly where to click? Because I tried and I wasn't able to, nothing happened when I clicked it.
Okay, so when you're on the Google Chrome extension
Yeah.
page,
So show me exactly. Just click Bitmoji.
I click it.
Yeah, and oh, okay.
You have to click the extension that comes up on the bottom.
Where? Oh.
So I'll go back again. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Joelle, you can reach out to me through the Google Classroom throughout the school year. The Google Classroom will be up, or you can send me an email through the NTU Workshops website. So anything related to workshops, I would rather you guys send it to that email, just because then I'm sure my work email will be inundated with information from work. So it's probably best to keep it separate so that don't miss any emails throughout the school year. But you can always, post a question on the Google Classroom.
Okay, thank you so much. Where will you find the evaluation forms, by the way?
So it's gonna automatically pop up on the Google Classroom.
Awesome.
The stream, the post will actually pop up where you will be asked to fill out a form.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for joining.
Okay.
Sylvia,
Have a great summer.
You too.
Yeah. I didn't know I have to sign in until you told us that we have to sign in all the time. I started coming in and I just clicked on the then I would just log in, but I didn't know I have to join. So when you told us, I just recently went through the normal way it was supposed to, and now I can get your messages, I can get whatever you're sending. So I don't know what's gonna happen to all this time that I've been joining it, because I didn't.
Just if you didn't fill out the form, and you came to the live workshop, just send me an email with the dates that you attended, and I'll create a certificate for you.
Okay, your email is on the
So you can send it to this email here.
Okay. Let's see if I can.
I'm gonna put it in the chat.
Okay. Let me find the pen. I'm writing down.
Okay. Okay, so I just put it into the chat. You can email me there if you didn't fill out the attendance form.
Okay.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions before we?
On the Bitmoji.
Show me
yeah,
Bitmoji.
So what would you like me to show you?
While you on the Bitmoji, Sylvia, can I put up my screen to show you where I am?
Sure.
Okay.
Let me stop
sharing. Extensions.
And Miss Sylvia, we can access your Google Classroom, right? Later on?
Yeah. You'll be able to access the Google Classroom throughout the whole school. So as long as as long as you have joined the Google Classroom, I'm going to keep it up. Okay.
Oh, thank you. That's good. Because certain things we know it, but you forgot when you start working on. So I can go back and check the other material also.
All right, go ahead, Gail.
I think for Otis, can we still get the certification?
So you're still going to be having Otis workshops throughout the school year. Yes.
Okay, without paying, right?
Without paying, yes.
Yeah, because somebody is telling me yesterday that they open it and they're asking for the payment.
Oh,
so
no. So
I didn't
should be providing the Otis stuff.
Okay, that's great because they extended. Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
No, it's gonna make me sleepy, but regardless, I'm gonna try and do something.
Okay, so right there, you're gonna put in your email information, your password. All right, you had to sign into the Bitmoji. Because you already have the extension.
Are you there?
Yep.
Okay, something happened.
All right, you have to put in password.
Okay, I can't hear you.
You have to put in your password.
Okay. That's what I was doing. Something happened. I can't. Okay.
So maybe unshare your screen to put your password and then share it.
Okay, let me see here.
So you have to put your email and your password.
Something is quite right. I've lost you guys. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Yes.
Okay. I for some reason, for a few moments, I lost you guys. I'm trying again. Okay. And then this is the personal email, right?
Yep.
Hold on. I'm trying again.